Hi everybody, this is Lindsay from Winding Road Crochet, and I'm so excited because today we are going to be diving into the plaid skirt of our Simply Fall baby dress crochet along. If you are just catching this and haven't seen the other two parts, you'll get the links in our description box below to be able to make the bodice as well as to check your gauge to make sure that your dress turns out the right side. So let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a quick look at the skirt of our dress. We are just making a very simple skirt with a plaid design. And in order to get this plaid design, you will be using three colors, three different shades of the same color. In this one you can see I have my tan, my dark brown, and my white. In the top row we're going to be doing some increases to make a nice full skirt. And then the rest of the rows, it's just going to be a real simple stitch in every stitch around to complete. When we get down to the last row, we'll go ahead and show you how to make this little flap to go over your ruffle. And it's a really easy pattern in order to make the plaid design. It's all about just alternating two colors. We're going to do 4 double crochet of one, 4 double crochet of the next, and I will show you how that's done, how to change your colors, and how to carry your thread underneath so you're not having a lot of extra ends to weave into. I am also going to show you how to carry your thread from one row to the next. You'll have these little loops in the back, but it's still pretty clean looking, and it keeps you from having to weave in a whole bunch of ends at the end of the project. So I'll show you how to do that as well. So before we start crocheting, I just want to talk to you a little bit about plaid, what it is that makes a plaid. Plaid uses a light, a medium, and a dark color. These are the three colors I used in my original skirt. The light, the tan, and then the dark brown. And it's the way you put these together that really causes the plaid to happen. So in every row, we will be working only with two colors. And in every single row, you're going to be using that medium color. So, and it's going to stack on top of one of the other colors. So one row, you're going to have the light, the medium, the light, the medium. The other row was the medium, the dark, medium, dark. And it's just the way that it alternates that gives it that really unique plaid look. So these are the colors that I'm going to be using today. You're going to have my red, my yellow, and my orange. Red is going to act as my dark color. My medium color is going to be the orange. My light color is going to be that yellow. And these colors are the kind of pumpkin-y fall colors I'm going to be using today. So here we have the bodice that we completed in part 2. And here's the loop from everything still attached. You still have all your yarn attached. The only thing I'm going to go ahead and change is I'm going to go ahead and remove my very last slip stitch because I'm going to change over to my medium color because we're not actually going to use the red in our first row of the bodice. We're going to be using the orange and the yellow here. So to go ahead and make the bodice, I'm just going to take my orange. So to change colors to orange, I'm just going to take this thread and instead of using the red to yarn over here, we are going to use the orange instead to yarn over and pull through that slip stitch. So pull through the stitch, pull through the loop, go ahead and tug on your red just a little bit to make sure you pull that slip stitch tight. And now we're able to start the next row. So to start the next row, we are going to chain up 3. And then turn our work. And here we're going to do the first 4 double crochet as the orange, but because we want to have a nice full skirt, we're going to be doing 2 double crochet into each stitch. So for the first 2 stitches, we're going to work 2 double crochet into that very first stitch. Yarn over, go into the stitch, pull up a thread, pull through 2, pull through 2. So now we have 2 double crochet in the first stitch, and we're going to do 2 double crochet into the next stitch. So we're just doing some increases, and we will do an increase in each stitch all the way around. But now that we've gotten to our 4th double crochet, I'm going to go ahead and chain over to my yellow. So to change my color, start by yarning over for that last double crochet, go into the stitch, yarn over and pull up a loop, yarn over with your orange, pull through the first 2 loops on the hook. Now this is where we're going to change our color. So we're going to go ahead and get our yellow yarn tail, going to yarn over with the yellow instead of the orange, and pull the yellow through to complete that stitch. That is how you change colors. So we have the first 4 as the orange, and our next 4 we will do in the yellow. But now we want to go ahead and keep that orange tail, that orange thread with us. So in order to do that, we are going to crochet around the orange. You can see the orange is laying on top of the stitch that we are working. And we're going to work our stitch around that orange yarn. That way we kind of lock it in place, it's hidden away, and it will be there when we get done with these 4 stitches so that we can switch back to the orange. So we're going to again work 2 stitches into every stitch. So we're working our 2nd into this stitch, going to work into 2 double crochet into the next stitch. Here's 1, and this last one we're going to change our color again. So we're going to finish half of the stitch, pulling through those first 2 loops, and then we're going to grab our orange yarn and use that to complete our last part of the stitch. So we have 4 of the orange, and now we have 4 of the yellow, and we're going to do 4 more of the orange, and keep doing this all the way around. So 2 more stitches into the next stitch, still working over that yellow yarn so that we hide that away. Two more double crochet into the next stitch. So this will give us a nice full skirt. And then we're on our last stitch, so now we are going to use the yellow to complete that very last stitch. And I'm going to keep working all the way around with that same pattern. We're going to change over to our orange, then work over our yellow yarn. We're going to do this all the way around, and when I get all the way around, I'll get back to you. So here I am on my last set of 4 double crochet, still working 2 double crochet into each stitch. I'm finishing up with the yellow, and I checked the stitch count on everything. Everybody should have a stitch count that's divisible by 4 on this row, so that you will be able to finish off with the opposite color than you started with. So from here we are going to go ahead and slip stitch, and you'll see that I'm pulling my yarn to the front. I want to make sure that all my yarn tails when I finish my rows are on the same side. So this is on the same side as that red yarn tail and that orange yarn tail. And then I'm going to go ahead and make sure I slip stitch, but when I slip stitch I do want to use the orange to slip stitch with, and this is because the next row we are going to start with orange again. So you're always going to start your row with your medium color. So I am chaining up 3 to start my second row of the bodice, and then it's really easy. You're going to do 4 double crochet, 1 into each of the yellow stitches, and then you're going to change colors, and you will do 4 double crochet, 1 into each stitch, and we're going to be using the red. So we used yellow and orange last row. This row we're going to use the orange and the red, and it's as simple as making sure that you're always doing the orange into the color of the previous row. So you should never be doing an orange stitch into an orange stitch. You should always be doing your orange into your yellow. Of course, you're going to have different colors, but you're always going to do your medium color is going to be worked either into your light color or your dark color. And then your light and dark colors, when you get to those, will always be worked into the orange. So I'm switching over my yarn to the red now. So you can see how I've worked all the orange stitches into the previously yellow stitches. And now I'm going to work all my red stitches into the orange stitches. So it's always going to be alternating. So go ahead and work our red in here. I really love watching plaid come together. I love color work. It just simple stitches and changing colors to make such a beautiful design. I don't know what it is. I just absolutely love watching it come together. So I'm finishing up my 4th stitch in red, and you can see how some of this yarn can get tangled. I'm going to give you a real quick trick on how to keep your yarn from getting tangled. So if you look at your yarn, pick a color. I always pick the medium color, and I always think of the medium color being on the back side. So I have the red in front and then the orange in the back. And I always want to keep it that way. And I know that one will come up top and one will go bottom while you're working with it. But when you rotate them to change over, you always want to have your medium color in the back. So let me go ahead and work these next 4 stitches and I'll show you what I mean. So I'm working the 4th stitch, and we'll go ahead and change colors. Now when I pull my colors back up, I want to make sure that red stays in front of the orange. So when I yarn over, the red is still in front of the orange. And then I pull that through, and then I'll work 4 of orange over the 4 red over the orange, but I just keep that orange in the back of behind my red. So now I am working over the orange again. Stitch number 3, stitch number 4, and then I want to rotate it so that orange is in the back and then yarn over. By keeping that orange in the back and the red in the front, this just keeps your yarn from getting twisted. So you can see how the plaid is starting to come together. And as you keep going, it will get even more so. You'll see the plaid come together, but I'm going to go ahead and work the rest of this row, and I'll get back to you at the end. So now I am at the end of row 2, working with the red to finish up. And then your next row is going to be identical to this row. You're just not going to use red. Instead, you are going to go back to using the yellow. So let me work this very last stitch. And then I'm going to leave my tails in the back because that's where my other tails are. You can see those other tails there, so I'm going to make sure that tail stays in the back. Going to slip stitch and switch my color over to the orange. You'll start each row with orange. I'm going to pull that red thread tight and then chain up 3, and we'll start our next row. As I said, it's exactly the same as the previous row, except for this row we are going to use orange and yellow. So we'll work orange on top of the red stitches, and we'll work yellow on top of the orange stitches. And then you can also see by keeping all my threads on one side, I'm just pulling them up the back, creating that little bit of less than an inch thread area. But it just kind of keeps everything clean, and I don't know about you, but I don't like weaving in ends, so anything I can do to save myself, I will do. I'm switching over to the yellow now, and again, I'm keeping that orange thread in the back, the yellow in the front, and that is keeping my threads from getting twisted together. But if they do get twisted together, it's not a big deal. Take your skeins, twirl them around a little bit, and you'll get out of it. Not a big deal. But I'm going to go ahead and finish up this row, and I'm going to do every other row. You can check the pattern on the blog post to see exactly how many rows you're supposed to do for your size baby dress, but every baby dress is worked the same to make that plaid. It's just alternating those 4 colors. So I'll see you when I get to the end of this skirt. So here I am at the very end of my skirt on my second to last row, and I will go ahead and slip stitch to the first double crochet, and I will show you how to work this last row. This last row is almost exactly the same as all the other rows. You're going to chain up 3, but in order to be able to basically work this row twice, we are going to work in the front loops only. And you can see how I carried up my thread on one side. A little messy, but it's all on the inside, so it's not a big deal. So we're going to create a spot in order to work our ruffle into the same row as we're working this very last row. And in order to do that, we're going to be working in the front loop only. So still working our plaid pattern, we are only going to be working into the front loop of this stitch. So normally you would go under both strands of yarn up here, but instead we are just going through the front loop. So you'll come in from the front, under that first loop, out through the center of that stitch. Let me show you this a little better. See, I'm going under that just that first loop and out to the very center of the stitch. Normally you would go under both strands of yarn there, but we're just going under that front strand. And then I want to make sure I'm still going around my red thread, and I want to pull up a loop and finish my double crochet. So it's the only thing changes is where you're inserting your hook. We're going to go ahead and do that in the next stitch. Make sure we come up the center of that stitch, the top center, with just one strand of yarn over your hook. Go ahead and complete that. And I'll keep doing this, and I will show you what it does on the other side, because basically when we work our ruffle, we'll be working this same row but in the back stitch, the back loop only. So this row is worked in the front loop. The next and the first row of the ruffle will be worked in the back loop. So by working the front loop only, if you flip this over, you'll see where that back loop is still exposed, and we'll be working our ruffle into that back loop. So that's why it's important to do the front loop only. And you can see here how that creates a really nice flap over this ruffle. It kind of gives it that petticoat kind of look, that Southern Belle, you know, ruffles under their skirt kind of look, by working that ruffle underneath your last row of your plaid. So this is the last row of part 3 of our crochet along. I hope you've been enjoying it so far. Make sure you join us on our Facebook group, our Crochet Journey Facebook group, and share the photos of your crocheted skirt. I'm so excited to see this skirt crocheted in a lot of different colors. But once you finish this row, you're just going to slip stitch to the first double crochet again, and you will be ready for part 4 next week. So we look forward to seeing you next week. Don't forget to check out the description box below. All the links to the patterns are in there, all the links to where you can find me on Instagram, Pinterest, Twitter, Facebook, our crochet group, our Facebook crochet group. All of that's down in the description box below. Also, don't forget to subscribe and smash that like button if you want to see me do more pattern video tutorials. Until next time.